Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Red.head.med. This week we're doing a highly requested video that concentrates on the timeline that you should have if you're taking step 1 after your clerkship year and how to apply to residency from there. So stay tuned and please hit subscribe. So welcome back to my channel. I know that it's been quite a while. It was because of the holiday break and because I got sick, as you could probably tell from my voice. So today we're going to be going over a timeline about how you should approach your studies and what you should be doing if you're taking step 1 after your clerkship year. This video is really specific towards Meharry medical students, but it's also applicable to anybody, as I've said, who's taking step 1 after third year. Okay, so to begin, I'm making this video basically the 1st of December. So the things that I would recommend doing for the month of December, and I made a cute little visual timeline thing so that you can kind of follow along and kind of check off the bullet points that I made. Is the first thing that you want to do right now is to really kind of look and research what OAs you want to do in terms of your specific specialty. So for me, at this point in December, I was looking up different emergency medicine OA rotations on their specific institution websites. So for instance, I did my OAs at Baylor Medical College and also LA County, USC. So I went to their website to look at the information and to see what information I needed to have ready for my application. So that could be rec letters, because sometimes they're going to ask for 2 rec letters from faculty, and then they're going to ask for a letter of good standing, your step 1 score. So since you're taking step a little bit later, a lot of them will make exceptions as long as it's written in your good letter of standing or your dean's letter that you're taking step 1 after I think it's May. And so as long as you have a passing score before your clerkship starts, you'll be able to keep your spot for that OA rotation. And then on top of that, like I said, since you're looking at the institution-specific websites, now would be a great time to ask for a good letter of recommendation. And the way that you want to approach the faculty members that are writing your rec letter is that you want to ask them for a strong letter of recommendation. Can you write me a strong letter of recommendation? That is literally what I would put in the body of the paragraph of what you're writing. And then I would also ask them if they could write one for VSAS and ERAS. That way they already know that they're going to be your letters of recommenders for both processes. I didn't explain the difference between VSAS and ERAS, so I need to explain the difference right now. So in terms of VSAS, so VSAS is the application portal sponsored by the AAMC that's used to help you apply for away rotations during the summer months and also into the winter. And so each application I think was about $15, but you apply to them so that you can get an away rotation. And it's basically an agreement between your school and the host school. And so yeah, you want to apply to a decent amount. I think I applied to maybe 20 or 30. It wasn't too much money in that respect. And yeah, just making sure that you're applying for scholarships, especially if you're an underrepresented minority, really goes a long way, because it kind of adds up to do away rotations, because you're paying for rent at your house and then you're also paying for rent away, travel, all this other stuff. So definitely look out for these programs. Some programs do not use VSAS for their away rotations. So I remember that Stanford is just an example of one school that does not use VSAS for getting an away rotation. But I know that if you do get in with their underrepresented minority score program, that they cover flights, housing, and you get a stipend on top of that. So I would definitely look out for that. I would say that most of the applications for VSAS kind of are due in April or March. So it really just depends on what this year's calendar is going to be like, especially with COVID. Yeah. Okay, so now that I'm done explaining VSAS, ERAS is the application that you use for residency. It's also sponsored by the AAMC, but it's different in terms of the prices. So for the first 10 programs, it's $99, and then from there, for each program you apply to afterwards, it's $17. And it's kind of what most programs use. If you're applying for something like urology or ophthalmology, they use a different application software. I'm not familiar with it because I applied to emergency medicine. But yeah, so ERAS is usually due September 29th. And the thing about ERAS is that you want to submit literally the day that it's due, or else your applications might get lost or not read, because each program has about almost 1,000 applicants applying for their positions. So it's really important that you apply to that on time. So that is the difference between ERAS, and that is the difference between VSAS. Now that we've established this, we can keep moving forward. Okay, so after you've gathered your kind of like your list of like what aways you're interested in, what scholarships they offer, and also you asked for your letters of recommendations, your strong letters of recommendation, what I would do is during your winter break, aside from spending time with your family and mentally relaxing, is to start your personal statement. And you're like, wow, that is really early for you to start. Yes, I know that is early for you to start, but it is better to get it done with while you have vacation than while you are studying for your clerkships, step 1, applying to VSAS and ERAS and OAs. It's better to just knock it out during winter break. I don't know, look at the snow, look outside and get inspired and get it done with. Because the thing about the personal statement for VSAS versus ERAS is that for the most part, the person that's reading your VSAS personal statement will be different than the person that's reading your ERAS personal statement. So you can build on top of what you wrote for your VSAS personal statement into your ERAS personal statement and save yourself so much time. Like I did that, and I like wanted to go back in time and like kiss myself on the forehead and be like, thank you, because you made my future life so much easier. So I highly recommend that if you have the time during your winter break to just hash it out, knock it out, whatever. So in January, it's the new year. It's time to really start taking your studying for step 1 a little bit more seriously than what you're doing now. So what I recommend that you do is, you keep doing what you're doing for your clerkships. Keep studying, keep doing your practice tests, all that stuff. You have to pass your clerkships before you can take step 1. But something that I would start to add to it is maybe doing 20 to 30 year-old questions a day. Just so that by the time that you are at dedicated, you're like almost at like a first pass. You're almost completely done. And then during dedicated, you only have to do 1 more pass, and then you'll feel confident that you've done kind of 2. So that's just my recommendation. Trying to do 20 to 30 step 1 questions, starting January until you take step 1, which is in May. You could do it on tutor mode. You could do it timed. I personally recommend tutor mode until you are ready to actually like sit down and do full blocks, because there's really like no point, and you're also kind of stressed out from clerkships. But that's just my piece of advice. And then again, keep looking for away rotations that you didn't find in December, and just having that just mentally in your brain, and yeah, just being prepared for that. So February. So I remember last February, I think I got the token for VSAS. And so the token for VSAS is like your permission to enter the site. You're going to get it from your dean or your like academic admissions person. You're going to get it from like the person who's in charge of like academics at your school, and you're going to use that token to apply to VSAS. It is time sensitive. Don't be lazy with it. Make sure you literally activate VSAS the day you get your token, because you don't want to be that person that hits up the dean to be like, hey, I never logged in and that's why my token expired, because that comes off as laziness. Like, to be quite honest, it is what it is. In addition to that, yeah, so I was talking about the VSAS scholarships. Some of them are due earlier than when the actual application is due. So I think that I remember like submitting them in like as early as February. So I would definitely, just start looking out for those deadlines and making sure that they're being submitted. And then once again, studying for your clerkships and studying for step 1. And you're probably like, oh my goodness, like how do you do all this in the like limited time that you have? And my best advice, honestly, is to just keep pushing forward. And you might have to like stop going to brunch on the weekends and like taking time off. Like for me during this time, I studied every day. I never took a day off unless I took a clerkship shelf exam, and then like I allow myself to rest the day after that. But I know that this is really bad to say, but like your body is what will allow you to take the rest day. But until then, like don't allow yourself to get distracted by like concerts, venues, like dates with your friends. Like they will have to kind of wait, just because like you are time crunched, just because that this schedule is a little bit more stressful than what the traditional student goes through. And I'm really sorry to have to tell you the truth in this matter. Of course, make sure you are taking care of your mental health as best as you can. Like, you can go to church and like be spiritually grounded, like do things that are actually going to help you mentally, but don't do things that you're just going to do because of FOMO. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, those are things to look out for. And now we are in the month of March. So like I said again, you're making sure that you're like, I think submitting your VSAS at this point in March or April. I cannot remember when it's due. Let me check. VSAS deadline. All of this information is also on their website, by the way. In March, you're still doing the same thing of, finishing your VSAS, studying for your clerkships, and also studying for step 1. Pay attention to the deadlines where your VSAS applications are due yet again. I think for us, VSAS is due in April. but I can't remember because like during that time they were making so many announcements of, oh, they're not happening, oh yes they are happening, oh COVID, da 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 da. So just pay attention to the announcements that AAMC is broadcasting, especially for your specific specialty. And then now we are in April. You're gonna, definitely submit your VSAS by now, but now you are in dedicated because you have to take your exam by the end of May, especially for Harry students. So what I recommend, I'm going to attach the video here, is to look at how I studied for step 1 in terms of dedicated. I gave myself, I think, a 6 or 7 week dedicated. And especially now that step 1 is pass fail, your dedicated does not need to be as long nor as intensive as my dedicated was, just because the score isn't as important. So that's something that I would pay attention to, especially in the month of April. But in April, yes, dedicate your time to step 1, make sure you pass that, and then you are going to be living your best life after you pass step 1. And then now we're on to May. You're still in dedicated, but something important about May in comparison to April is that you're actually going to get acceptances to VSAS during this time. And so you want to kind of like, pay attention to your email and make sure that you're accepting your offers and also like rejecting them if you don't want them, because it's not cool to kind of like hoard acceptances when there's only so little spots for these away rotations. It's best to also, meet up with your like career counseling advisor and be like, is this right for me? Talk to a couple of residents and just kind of determine like if that specific away rotation best fits you. And then, you're still in dedicated, you're taking step 1, you're passing step 1, and you're living your best life. I'd say to probably take step 1 like mid-May. That way you give yourself like at least like 2 weeks off so that you can actually like relax mentally. And then for June, you take step 2. And I recommend a 4-week or like 5-week dedicated. It doesn't need to be that long for step 2, but it also just depends on like what your goals are. Like if you really want like a 270 or something like that, like you can push back your like step 2 until December. So for this part of the schedule, that's when like things kind of go like, you kind of customize it on your own. So you can take everything I say with a grain of salt, but this is like what I wish I had done in comparison to like everything else. Okay, so you take your step 2 by the end of June, and then you do your first away elective in July. And that way you're doing it, you're getting the experience that you need. And then, on your free time while you're in your audition rotation, you're also working on ERAS. Whew. So like I said before, ERAS is the application for residency, perhaps the most important application of your entire life. And, you already worked on your personal statement in December. So, now you don't have to work on your personal statement so much, but now you can look into what programs you want to apply to. And also, check up on the faculty that you asked to write that strong letter of recommendation for and be like, hey, like, I'm applying to this. The application is due like September 29th. Just making sure that, that you're just reminding them gently that it's coming up and, just having your stuff in earlier, because you can submit it, I think, as early as like August or July, and just having that ready will really like help you in terms of the application process for residency. And then in August, you could do a second away rotation if your specialty requires it. I think for like some specialties like IM, you only really need 1 away, but for EM, depending on like your school, like if you have a residency program or not at your home institution, you can do 2 aways. So it really just depends. You kind of want to do it in August. That way you can kind of have like your recommendation letters from that program ready to be submitted into ERAS into September, by September 29th. It's okay if they're a little bit later. Just let the programs know and kind of update them for your second recommendation of letter. But it's really important that you at least have 1 recommendation letter submitted in your application prior to September 29th. And that's why I kind of suggested that you do the away rotation in July. And so like in August, you're once again just polishing up your ERAS and just doing your second like away rotation. And then September, the most stressful month of your entire existence in medical school, is because this is when you're finishing up your ERAS and you're just like also registering for NRMP. You're sending like you're sending ERAS like about 1,000 of your dollars to apply to a job. So you're submitting everything by September 29th. So remember that it has to be submitted before September 29th. I cannot emphasize that enough. Get it in early, because I'm telling you, like, they're gonna like just probably print off the applications or like read it based off of cutoff scores or something. Like some people got interview offers the next day, September 30th. So it is so important that you submit that on time with everything completed. And something that a lot of people kind of got screwed over for this year is that they like were missing parts of their application, not because they didn't submit it, but because the ERAS system itself malfunctioned, even though ERAS kind of gaslighted a couple people in terms of that, or they like didn't acknowledge, they didn't take accountability for mess ups in their system. So it's definitely important that you make sure that everything is assigned correctly. So like all your letters of recommendations are assigned to every program, the right personal statements are assigned to each program, and then just making sure that you applied to all the programs you want to do. And then at the same time, you want to register for the NRMP. So the NRMP is a different program than ERAS. The NRMP is what is the match, or I think the R3 system. And so you want to register for that a little bit early because the prices go up the later you wait. And so, yeah, you just apply for that. I think it's like $80 or like $100. I know it's annoying, but then it's what allows you to have the rank list, and it's super important as well to get done with, and that will be more important in February of your senior year because that is when you will make your rank list. Ooh, I'm out of breath. Okay, so now we are in October, and this is when you are going to be getting, well, depending on your specialty, interview invites. And during this time in October, you also want to kind of knock out whatever senior classes you need to get done to graduate. So now for the rest of the semester, for the rest of the school year, you are also completing whatever your senior class requirements are. I don't know what they are for each school. I don't know what they will be for the next class, but it is important that you knock them out prior to May so that you can graduate on time. And they're not as intensive as like the clerkships before. They're actually kind of fun, especially because you don't really have like shelf exams at the end of them, so you're like actually like there to learn and not kind of worry about a standardized test, which I thought is really enjoyable. So yeah, so you're gonna organize your interviews, kind of take your senior classes, and now you're like relaxing. Same thing for like November, interview schedule, senior classes. December, interview, senior classes. January, school classes, interview. February, you might still be in a senior class, but now February is important because interviews are coming to an end. And by the end of February, you want to have your rank list ready because I think it's by like March 1st, you want to have that rank list submitted. And the rank list is important because, again, it is what is going to determine where you match in regards to residency and where you're going to be for the next like 3 to 5 years. So, make sure you kind of are ready for that when that happens. After February, March, it's usually around like March 15th to like kind of like the 19th, you're going to find out about where you matched. It's going to be a big celebration. Everybody's going to be getting turned because you matched your resident. Also, there's another part to the match that some people don't realize, especially when they're underclassmen. It's something called SOAP. So SOAP is when you do not initially match, but it's like during the week of match, because you'll find out on Monday, you'll get an email like, oh, you matched, but it won't tell you where you matched. And sometimes people unfortunately get, oh, you didn't match. So then the SOAP, I think it's like, it gives you like 45 tokens to apply to programs, and these programs will reach out to you and you'll interview with them, and then within like 3 hours you'll get an offer. You can accept the offer, or you can continue to keep soaping. So it's a really stressful process because I've heard that the R3 system kind of crashes like every single year. And there's like just more applicants that unfortunately have to SOAP just because applying to residency has gotten more competitive with less spots opening up. So that's something to look out for. It's just something to look out for and to just be aware that it exists. April, senior classes, or you could be going on vacation and you're starting to prepare your residency kind of paperwork. By May, you'll be graduating. You will be Dr. whatever your last name is. And then in June, you start residency. So yeah, that was super long-winded. Yeah, after, making this video, I realized that I should probably make videos in regards to like how to actually use VSAS. They're changing VSAS, the platform. So I'll make a video on how to like kind of navigate through that and just like kind of like show you what to do for each step. I know that this video was a lot, and I'm like, I had to do it mainly alone since I'm first generation. med student and the oldest sibling in my family, the first person to really go through it. So I'm here to help you guys. If you guys have any more questions or comments, please leave them below. I really do reply to those. Please like the video, share it with a friend who's also struggling with taking step 1 after their clerkship year and is kind of confused with what they need to do. And yeah, feel free to subscribe, and I hope that you guys have a blessed week, and I hope to see you guys again when I make the next videos. Stay blessed. Bye.